Sup guys, Bjorn here. I hope you're enjoying 9.1 so far. Maybe you've been running around Korthia exploring as I have. If you haven't though, well then it's your lucky day because I am here with a full Korthia guide. We're gonna get through everything you need to know about the gear, the rewards, the pets, the mounts, the reputation, the new events, the soul cinders, everything you need to know. So before we get in the guide though, make sure you subscribe down below if you want more 9.1 content. Leave a like if you like the video, it really helps me out. And most importantly, leave a comment if you have something to say because I'm gonna be responding to every single comment. If you have a spicy take, some Korthia questions, just some general 9.1 stuff you want to get out of the way, well, make sure to ask me and we'll have a discussion down below. Without further ado, let's get into the guide. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was just the intro to Korthia. There is going to be a 3-chapter campaign here. You're going to have to complete that to unlock everything else. And I know it turns you off a little bit. It did turn me off as well. I didn't complete it for 2 days, which was insanely troll in hindsight, but whatever. Make sure you get through those 3 chapters. Once you've unlocked it, there's going to be 3 dailies every single day. Rotating on a rotation, they can reward like anything from rep, currencies, rewards, Korthia crystals, gear, stuff like that. So anima as well. Those are pretty good to do. Then we have a weekly coming from this boy over here, Talgalan. I've already done it, but it's where your renown comes from now, and it also rewards a ton of good stuff like rep, Korthia crystals, gear, and stuff like that. So make sure you do that every single week. What do these dailies and Maw or the weekly actually do? Well, they reward some currency with 2 new reps, right? We have the Death's Advance and we have the Archivist Codex. Death's Advance is just your standard new rep, right? It rewards some gear, some vanity items, some mounts, the usual stuff, you know. The Quartermaster does sell it for Stygia though, so if you have some old Stygia, you don't really need to farm new currencies here, which is nice. Although the rep gating here is pretty high, right? You're gonna have to spend probably some weeks doing dailies, doing Tormentors of Torias, doing the Maw Assault, doing all that stuff to actually get your rep up with this reputation here. It does sell 200 item level buy on account gear though, so some stuff, some useful stuff in there, some mounts, some 220 domination socket off pieces depending on your armor type. Could be useful, but not too much going on there. The other reputation is a lot more interesting. It's the Archivist Codex. He lives in a little hole in the ground over here, and he has both a ton of stuff as rewards, but he's also a lot more fun to interact with in terms of just farming the rep, right? Because the reputation in the Archivist Codex are going to come from a lot of different sources. There's the relic fragments. There are just small items you pick up from like everything in Korthia, rares, treasures, quests, or mobs even. You can turn them in here for both some rep and some catalog research. So you see there, I didn't have, like 10 is not a lot at all, so I only get 5 rep and 10 research, but it's not infrequent that you have like hundreds of these, right? If you spend time in Korthia, that is. In terms of the actual rewards on reputation, there's a lot of good stuff here. For example, a 239 domination sock off piece, really strong. There's some stuff that allows you to interact with new things in Korthia. For example, a rift key will allow you to enter the rift. We'll talk about that more later. And then we have teleport repair kits. This allows you to kind of spawn rares around Korthia. There's some extra Stygia. You can, I've already bought a couple of these upgrades. For example, this one is really nice, able to detect creatures who are holding relic fragments. It basically just makes it so that they have a purple glow and you can just see which enemies are holding the relic fragments, so you don't have to run around killing everything. You can just kill the ones that actually drop relic fragments. Really nice there. There's also some keys on this vendor that allows you to open new chests around Korthia, and yeah, just a ton of stuff like empowering Korthia and just making it more fun to be in here. So can't wait to get this rep up some more tiers. I think it'll be more fun in Korthia the longer we're spending here. So in terms of other important stuff you need to keep track of, it's basically just the old Maw zone as well has gotten some new events. There's a bi-weekly assault one of the covenants is assaulting the Maw, currently the night phase. I've already done it, so it doesn't show up here, but it's usually around here somewhere. You just do like 4 quests, and you get a ton of weekly stuff, similar to the Korthia weekly, minus the renown then. So definitely recommend that. You also get some soul cinders from those bi-weekly assaults, 50 each. So it's pretty important to do those every single week if you want to get your legendary ASAP. Then we have another event in the old Maw called Tormentors of Torghast. It spawns every 2 hours. On EU servers it's every odd hour, so it would have spawned 17 minutes ago server time here. It's probably already dead. You can kill that multiple times a week if you want to, but it's only going to reward those soul cinders once per week, although it does still give rep and stuff like that after. And both the assault and the tormentors are going to reward rep with death's advance as well, so there's a bit of rep for death's advance there if you want to grind that. Then there's also one last thing I want to touch on before we get into the more specific Korthia guide. There is a new thing in Korthia called the Rift. It's just another dimension that you can enter if you have a rift key. You need to have a rift key, you need to be at a rift portal, and then you can enter it for 15 minutes. And in that rift, there's like new rewards, new things to interact with. There's some rares and stuff in there. Some things you can't see in the normal world, right? So that's pretty cool as well, and just another little layer of exploration when you're running around Korthia. You do get 1 rift key from doing the Night Fae assault this week, so if you wanna get a free rift key, do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to buy a rift key from the Archivist Codex rep once you get the tier 3 with that, so or tier 4, sorry. So it is quite tricky to get your hands on a rift key otherwise. So I thought we'd just quickly overview the rewards as well. What can you actually get from Korthia? You know, what's the good stuff here? Well, there's first of all the Korthia upgradable gear, right? The catch-up gear, and this is actually really good. This starts off at either 200 or 207 depending on how lucky you get. I did actually get a ton of these in 207 already, as you can see, and there's like 2 weapons in there. You just actually get a lot of these, and the bind on account ones also spawn these, so I would have 3 more here if I use these. And that gear can be upgradable all the way to 233 actually, so quite good. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this is that you do need rank 6 to get it to 233, so you're only going to get it to 220 early on. But the more rep you farm, and remember the rep isn't time gated, so if you really wanted that 233 gear, you could actually grind it out. So that's really good. That's probably one of the better rewards. Then we have the binary count gear that you can send to your alts. This just drops from like treasures and stuff. This is also pretty easy to get. There's a ton of toys and mounts, cosmetics dropping from different treasures, puzzles, you know, stuff you can see around the zone. But that's not really power related. Then we have a 230 craftable gear writ that you can buy from the Archivist Codex again at rank 6, I think it is. So if you want some 230 craftable gear, make some money on that maybe, that could be an option for you. As we talked about earlier, there's the Shards of Domination off pieces from the different reputations, right? And those are going to be at 220 eye level from Death's Advance and 239 from the Archivists. So if you can get that 239 piece relatively early, might be pretty good. There's also some random conduit upgrade drops from around the Korthia or the Maw, with like just dropping from treasures and rares. And that's just gonna bump up a conduit to 226. I've only gotten 1 of these so far actually, so they might be quite a lot rarer than I thought, which is a little sad. And then obviously there's the last one, the Korthite crystals. Just drops from everything, dailies, treasures, rares, wherever you can get it. It's still a little rare. I've only gotten 10 of them, and I have played quite a lot, so don't expect to get these too often. And then there was just one little tip I wanted to get through before we get to all the treasures, all the stuff you actually do in Korthia. Well, this guy here, the Flayedwing transporter sitting next to Mograine on this outlook here, just next to the city, this guy is actually going to fly you over to the Vault of Secrets. So don't be fooled by all the trolls in chat. You can actually get the Vault of Secrets instantly. Just hop on this mount here and it'll fly you right over there. So there's also some new treasures and stuff over there you can explore. So One thing as well to keep in mind about the treasures is the Archivist Codex sells this thing here at just tier 1. Summons a Swagsnout Gromit to help locate relics and treasures in Korthia and the Maw. Well, if you summon this boy, he's just gonna sniff out any nearby treasures if you miss him. So it's actually quite useful to have him around. He doesn't cost a lot either, and it's permanent. Just a 1-min CD, so I would suggest buying that ASAP. In terms of the actual treasures and what they do, well, the invasive mushrooms are the first one. These are gonna be found on like branches, trees, often related with jumping puzzles, and they drop like all of the usual stuff you get from the treasures. You know, all of the treasures in Korthia are gonna drop these relic fragments. They have a chance for Korthia crystals, gear, some gold, just gray items, toys, stuff like that. So, and also rep with the you know, catalog research rep with the Archivist Codex as well. So treasures are gonna be your best thing to do in Korthia. Basically, you do want to go around, collect as many of these as possible. You will get a ton of rep just by doing that. The invasive mushrooms are gonna be one of the most common treasures. They spawn on trees, on tree branches. There's a ton of different spots for them. They're usually associated with jumping puzzles, and they have a chance to drop, along with the usual drop items, right? The tasty mushrooms, which you can use to feed Dark Maul, who is just a mount, basically. If you feed him 6 of these tasty mushrooms, you're gonna be able to mount him. I've gotten 1 of the tasty mushrooms so far, and I've looted quite a lot of shrooms, so they are quite rare. I would probably think it would take quite a lot of farming to get 6 of these. The next one is just going to be some random treasures you can find around Korthia. There are like nests, there's some trash on the ground, piles of bones, stuff like that. They just lie around the zone, sometimes associated with jumping puzzles as well. But they'll just give the normal rewards, you know, Korthia crystals, some rep, some gold, stuff like that. So for sure pick those up. They aren't daily resetters or anything, they just spawn on a personal timer. In terms of just the usual zone chests that you saw around Timeless Island, Broken Shore and stuff like that, there's 3 different variants here in Korthia. There's relic chests, which are tied to the Archivist Codex, right? They're gonna reward some relic fragments, some rep with that faction as well, for along with the usual rewards. Then there's Mawsworn chests, which usually spawn in the areas of Korthia where there's Mawsworn. They're basically the same as the relic chests. They just reward some good stuff, and they're not on a daily timer or anything like that. And then there's Rift chests, which are only accessible if you're in the Rift. I'm not sure how many of them there are, maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 around Korthia in total. But they do reward some decent rewards as well, just the usual treasure stuff. Then we have 4 different unlockable locked chests, which require you to be farmed with this Archivist Codex reputation here. I talked about them earlier with the keys that you buy from the Archivist Codex quartermaster. And these 4 are going to be spread around Korthia. For spoiler reasons, I won't show you the exact locations. I would suggest just go around, try to find these on your own. They're quite fun. Then we have special daily quest chests. You know, for example, there's a spectral bound coffer spawning down here in Seeker's Quorum. That's on a daily timer, and they're just small like puzzle chests sometimes, or just usual chests that spawn on a daily timer. Then we have one-time relics. These are rare relics, usually on the very, very outskirts of Korthia, that gives some... sometimes they just give toys and stuff like that, but otherwise they can also reward a ton of the Archivist's Codex reputation, the catalog research, and some relic fragments and stuff like that. So definitely be on the outlook for these relics when you're like running around the edges of Korthia. Then there's also some just toys on the ground you find sometimes that look like treasures that don't really reward anything. And then there's quest relics, which are gonna be probably your main source of Archivist Codex reputation. these unlock with each tier of the Archivist Codex, unlock a couple of more of these relics. And they're gonna have a quest over their head. You just go there, collect them, and turn them into the Archivist, sometimes with a little quest associated with them. And they're gonna reward you a ton of rep and a ton of catalog research. So really be on the lookout for those. Then we have rares as well in Korthia, right? There's a very like the proportion between treasures and rares are kind of out of whack here. There's a ton of treasures, there's not a ton of rares really. If you use the Maw where there's like rares everywhere, it's not going to be the same here. There are some random rares you can find around Korthia if you're lucky, but they're not very they're more like rare spawns than actual rares standing in a location, right? Then we have summonable rares. These are usually bought from or summoned by like buying items from the Archivist Codex rep, and you can summon a rare. For example, this thing here, the repair kit, can repair a teleporter, and you can teleport up to a rare and kill him. So there's quite a lot of these summonable rares. Then there's also like events, some portals, and rifts that have some dangerous enemies sometimes coming through, and you can kill them. It's kind of like an event. I would say overall Korthia feels a little bit like Destiny world content, if you've ever played that. You know, there's more of these like random events, things happening on the map, and just incentivizing exploring with the treasures more than kind of questing and running around killing things and killing rares. You know, there's not a lot of that. So that was pretty much all the treasures and the rares around Korthia. There are obviously going to be some stuff I haven't found yet. There's going to be some stuff that's more unique than this. But in terms of just collecting the rep, collecting the relic fragments, those treasures and rares are going to be your best bets. There are some useful items I feel the need to mention here as well. You can buy them from the Archivist Codex. There's the Gromit carrier, which I talked about, which helps you find treasures. Then there's a relic detector that detects relic fragments on enemies and makes them glow purple if they have relic fragments on them. This is really useful because that means when you're running around Korthia, you probably don't want to like kill a ton of mobs all the time just to try to get relic fragments. But with this on, you can instead just see which mobs have the relic fragments and go specifically kill that mob, and you will get like 5 relic fragments. So definitely worth buying if you have the Archivist Codex rep there. Then there's some other stuff on that vendor as well. There's like a 10 Stygia per quest generator. There's some anima buffs. There's a ton of stuff on there. But I feel like those two that I just mentioned are probably the most important ones. I guess that was my Korthia guide. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more specific information on like where to get the rep, where to find all the treasures, the chests, and all of that more spoilery stuff, I didn't include this in this video because I figured it'd be much more fun to you guys to actually just explore that for yourselves, right? But if you still want it, if you don't have the time to explore all of it, if you just want to like go there and get the rep ASAP, I will be putting out one more catalog research guide for how to get the Archivist rep and stuff like that. But until then guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like it if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one, okay?